a shift down. He's using his pinky to shift down gears, he was saying on the pre-show, so hopefully he'll do okay.
Let's see how adaptable he is. Goes into the second of the two DRS zones. Both of them very powerful here, because they are both very long straights. The advantage of the first one is you are uphill, so therefore you get the extra little drag loss when you're going up towards the top. Here, you got this very tricky hairpin right here. It's so easy to fall away from you know with the grip. And we're into the faux stadium section of Hockenheim here. Probably a few too many hairpins in this sector for my liking. Could have shortened it slightly, but it still gives quite a good flow. And there are multiple options through that corner there to get the maximum line. And then we're into the mirror image of turn 8, going the right way round this time, rather than the left. So that quite fluidly. Missed the outside apex there. Didn't use the full width of the track to get maximum pace. Oh, outside the white lines at turn 18. That could have cancelled this lap potentially. Oh, through the final corner. Once again outside the white lines. And a 1:36.2. Not bad, but Lewis Hamilton, meanwhile, he's on the prime tyres, having a shocking lap, and then aborted straight away.
It's not. Yeah, that's pretty good. The 36.2 is good. You'll see quicker. You'll see TRL button fly. He always does. But that's a good start.
Sean Bean22 sent me a message saying, don't expect much from me tonight. Well, that's the inside track here. TRL button, meanwhile, one of your favourite new drivers here is driving the option tyres for Red Bull, taking a very tight line through the faux turn 8 there. Really missed the apex on the outside and went very, very wide at turn 18. Pace looks pretty reasonable, though. Oh, he's gone completely over the inside there, over the white line, something you can't do. But a 1:35.6 on the prime tyres.
That last sector was too scrappy for his liking, and he knows it. He can go he can find another half a second there.
LGS is a 36.8 on the prime tyres. A gulf of 1.2 seconds already. And Rybo, who's in here tonight, racing in the F1 League, a 1:40.6. If it makes you feel any better, that's faster than me.
I think hopefully he'll find a bit of time. His race that really matters is tomorrow. We are testing out potential drivers for next season in these last few races.
Oh, XRL Fozzy has gone a little wide, starting the final part of the Sector 2, going into the DRS zone, really messed it up there, went outside the white lines. And once again, that's something you can't afford to do, viewers. Keep doing that and you will be looking at the penalties. It's something that Codemasters weren't picking up much in their own League of Leagues stream, but it's something we certainly pick up on here in XRL.
Exactly. But having said that, Fozzy is on. I think he is continuing his lap. He's on the prime tyres. I think he could definitely improve, but his pace hasn't been as competitive as what I think it would be. But let's see what he can do anyway as he goes around the turn 8 style corner of Istanbul.
Yes, well, once again, not pushing the maximum line towards the outside curbs there. You could probably gain 3 or 4 mph if you do that, pushing the car as wide as you can. But 1:37.0 on the prime tyres, that's pretty solid pace from Fozzy.
Yeah, that's decent pace. I'll hold him in good stead if he was to do that tomorrow night. So
Right on 95. I wonder if he's on a second lap here. He's just coming up to the pits at 1:30. He is going to go through. Let's see if he's improved. His first lap was a 1:40.6. And he's found a whopping 3 seconds, 1:37.7. So that's got him a little more competitive.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I think he'll be wanting a little bit more. We've got a lot of people signing in tonight. We've got 20 odd people signing in our end. Don't know how many you've got in yours, Pete.
According to my software, if it's right, I have 2 so far. But then again, I never trust it, so it's hard to know. So we'll just have to keep watching and keep it on both stream boxes, of course. You can send messages both through Channel 1 and Channel 2, the chat box there, or you can also send them via Xbox Live as well. You can send them to me, or you can send them to Dan.
Well, we've got some exciting features coming in for next season's streaming, so they'll be announced later on. But having a look, we've got AZ Sassin signing in for the evening. We've got Mamet de Pep from the Classics. Good evening to you. We've got Sir Clarkford, good evening to you as well, LMG Killers as well. So a few guys that we don't usually see watching the streams watching, so good to see you all. And let's get back on the action. And
well,
Lewis Hamilton's
Ice Cold Andy has just started his lap on the prime tyres. So this is a crucial lap for Andy.
This is, it's big. He needs a flawless race without connection loss this week because he's got a 20-second penalty that's been carried forward from India. So
Williams and Freiburg getting cleanly out of the way there in the S's at sector 1. Good driving there from the Williams driver. Nice Canadian, a bit scruffy on the inside curb there. Almost snapped the car away from him. Just got it back though at the start of sector 2. And you got these tricky hairpin, almost 90-degree corners at the end of the chicane. And he goes totally over the white lines there.
He's been running wide. He ran wide at every single one of those corners, and then that last one just was the icing on the cake. It's okay.
Definitely finding it quite scrappy. It's a low grip part there. You'd be surprised because he has to with a lot of speed through there. You get a lot of grip, but it's quite easy to struggle. He is on the prime tyres as well, so let's be fair. This could be a bit of a banker lap. We've only got 6.5 minutes of qualifying left, so not much time for these guys to find. Oh, and he's gone over the inside of the hairpin there. All 4 tyres over the white line. He can't afford to become a penalty in the race to go on top of that 22nd one that you mentioned before, Dan. He really does need a flawless race. And the likes of TRL Button, the likes of Lewis Hamilton are going to push him very hard, I expect.
This is a poor lap for Mandy. I've seen him miss many apexes. He's struggling. He doesn't get the amount of practice that he knows he would like.
Another one is not gone anywhere near the width of the track at full turn 8, and he knows it's a bad lap. He's aborted.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. That was rather disappointing to see. We have Tyson sent me a message.
I've received a voice message from JK10. Please don't send voice messages. I can't play them over the stream because I've got no way of pre-testing them. So please either send via text or type in the text box.
Tyson sent me a message on the stream saying Lewis Hamilton looks good today. He's watching from his tablet, so good to see you watching, Tyson, as well. I'm on board with Jambo.
Yeah, me too. It's just coming up to full turn 8 now, and you can see how he's pushed a little bit wider there, and he's pushed a bit too wide, went slightly over the white lines, and that's compromised him into 18 there. He's just managed to wrestle the car back, but he's lost a few tenths. Into the final corner, very, very tempting to get the power down early there, but a 1:36.4, that's good pace from Jambo, and puts a good marker down for his teammate to say, I've got a chance of usurping you here. XRL yes, meanwhile, is on an options run once again. He's been struggling for pace over the last couple of weekends. He really needs a better result if he's going to give any chance to be able to get near the top of the league. He's not going to be threatening the championship, but he wants to get some form together ahead of the next season. Going into turn 18, slightly gets a bit out of shape, but recovers on the eggs very, very nicely. Into the final corner, clips the apex beautifully, but goes a little wide on exit. This is not impressive. A 36.6 on the options. Probably about a second off the ultimate pace.
Yeah, I think for some of these guys who haven't raced that much, it is all about just getting some confidence for next season. Lewis Hamilton has done a 35.7 and only just over half a tenth off the button for pole. So Lewis, Red Bull's
very good
around here.
Well, Mr. Indigo is on a prime up run for the first time to set a lap here. Going through the start of sector 2, we're into the hairpin that signals the start of the DRS zone. Got the apex nice and beautifully there. Didn't run too wide and didn't cut too much of the inside corner either. Over the DRS line. Flap open a little too late though.
Button improves to 35.4, so finds just under a couple of tenths there. Let's see if he continues.
Coming into the hairpin corner. Oh, Mr. Indigo turning in too early. Goes over the white lines. That's something we will be looking out for because you could definitely gain time by doing that. And that means you will gain the wrath of the stewards. Coming into the faux Hockenheim section here. I like using that word faux because it's pretty much whatever it is. It's a rip-off of a circuit. And now we're into faux turn 8. And again, Mr. Indigo taking a nice tight line on entry, but lets the car drift quite naturally. That's how you take that corner. Really carrying a maximum pace there. Into turn 18. Looks pretty solid, but I'm not sure he's going to be threatening the front here with this. Oh, he goes over the white lines again in the final corner. Compromises him a little bit. A 37.1. Only good enough for 7th so far.
Quite surprised not to see Valexi racing tonight. I do not know where he is at all. Big shame though, because I think you'd expect him to be right up there. TRL Button, I think this is an in-lap.
Question for JK10 there, as they say, he's wrote to me in text, thanks a lot for that. Watching on the Xbox app, so good luck finding us. Asks, who do we think is going to qualify near the front in regards to this race? Well, I'd say TRL Button's pretty much a shoo-in, and ex-Lewis Hamilton's got it, but Ice Cold Andy now is on an options run. So let's ride on board with him as he goes outside of sector 2, finds a little more grip, but just a bit too wide. Once again, just coming out of the chicanes there, something you can't keep doing, you can't keep extending the track. Going into, oh, he almost snapped the car under braking into the hairpin there. Managed to wrestle it back, but you could really hear the tyres being tortured. Coming up to the DRS line, flap is wide open, so now he's got his great chance here to carry extra speed down towards the hairpin corner. Got a little bit of traffic ahead of him though, he can't afford to let that car get in the way. It's one of the McLarens. Not sure if that's LGS or Indigo.
That'd be Indigo, I think, on an in-lap.
Heading now through the final part of Hockenheim, getting decent traction, but I don't think he's setting the sector times alight here from Andy. It's clean, it's like a clean, concise lap, but it's not ablaze with the field as far as I can see. Coming through faux turn 8, he drifts wide there, takes the extra pace, and then cuts back sharply, surprisingly. And that's look at how wide he went, 18 then.
Isn't bad, it's just not great. You know, if you're Andy,
going for the finish line, a 35.8, good enough for P3, but I don't think he's going to be impressed with himself.
No, he's got his main rival one position in front, so he can't afford to. Well, he's as close as he could be. So I mean, if he stays third, it's not the end of the world. He can still have a decent race from there.
Got XRL Fozzy on another lap on the options here. I'm not sure if this is an in-lap or not. Let's go around through turn 18. Pace looks reasonable. Currently on a 37 dead. Question whether he can improve. Goes once again a bit too wide. I guess a 36.8.
On
it's
the options.
For P7, but that's on the options.
His 37 dead was on prime, so he's only found 2 cents on the options, which is, you know, pretty disappointing. I'm on board with Sean Bean. He's on an outlap, but he's done 37.2. And these guys aren't massively apart, some of them.
On the stream again, JK10 asking on Xbox Live, who do we think is a dark horse? It's a tricky one, really, because of a track like the Circuit of the Americas, it depends on how you set your car up, whether you go for the higher downforce approach of Sectors 1, or if you go for the lower dragger solution for Sector 2. And it's all about race pace here. It's a question of whether you do the Sebastian Vettel or the Nico Hulkenberg strategy. For a dark horse, I'd probably put my money on someone like Jambo. Someone who's on the fringes, doesn't look great in qualifying, but might have a decent setup in the race. But to be honest, I think the top 3 of Hamilton, Button and Andy are your most likely bets for victory.
Hamilton is on a lap. He is setting a decent one as well, so I'm on board with him. He's just about finished the second sector. He's a little bit slow on the throttle there.
Well, that's how well it's just going into the hab here now before they gone off him for some reason and joined Hamilton. So let's stay with him. Going through the final part of the Hockenheimer Stadium section. Gets decent traction out of that corner at the end, and then into faux turn 8. He's taking the wider line for the first couple of apexes there to get maximum width at the end and speed. But look at turn 18. All the drivers are going in too hot there, and they're all running wide. If they do that in the race, they are going to get penalties. We set the precedent with India. We're not going to tolerate it. Well, 35.5 from Hamilton. That puts him currently P2, only a half a tenth behind Button.
That's decent. That is decent from Hamilton. I think he will.
Jambo's out of time. He's aborted a lap before turn 18 at 1:30. He's definitely not going to improve. LGS will ride on board with him. 36.6 is his best so far. Right in the midfield. He knows he wants to be nearer the front than that if possible. Because wide though at the end of the Hockenheimer section there. I wish these tracks had corner names. It's so much bloody easier.
This is an in-lap.
Doesn't look hot, does it? It looks like an in-lap to me too. Going through 14.8, I don't know actually. The pace could be on par here. Let's stay on board. Goes a little wide. Oh, he's going to break the beams anyway. Let's see where he goes at. 33. Not sure he's going to improve here.
He
no,
does.
36.4.
Does he really gain? He gains a couple of positions. He gains one position over Jambo through that. So.
But Jambo did his on the prime tyres, I think. So that's really compromised LGS. Paragon at 125. He quietly got himself into P4 there. Very good performance from him. Potential dark horse because he did win earlier in the season, I believe. So he's a driver who's got a lot of potential pace. But I'd say the top 3 at the moment, I don't think you can look much beyond them when it comes to race victory.
No.
But I scored Andy though. Those 2 Red Bulls being right in front of him. And it's a question of whether any of them were on the prime tyres here. I mean, just going to try and see if we can get a quick look.
We have... I believe Hamilton was on options and the primes were used by his teammate in pole. But still...
Well, if Button's on the prime tyres, he's in the pound seats for victory. If we can get off the line. We have seen this before where drivers don't get off the line very well. And even though they're on the more pace in the car, they get bottled up a bit. whereas some of the other drivers sneak through. I mean, we've seen before the likes of Sean being 22, the likes of the Paragon, the likes of Jambo and Bobbert getting very good starts and going from the likes of 9th to 5th. So if any of those guys get in the way, it could make life very tricky. And you have to remember as well that here at the Circuit of the Americas, the uphill corner, the hairpin, has a very, very wide entry. You can take the opposite line of taking the inside at the start and going to the outside rather than the out-in-out approach. And it's possible you might be able to sneak a couple of places there. Kind of similar to the way you start the Nürburgring on the GP, where you can go really tight on the inside line. We saw David Coulthard famously do that back in 2005 for Red Bull.
Right, well, I don't know how many people have you got watching the stream down your end.
According to this, I've only got the one, but I don't know if it's accurate or not.
So,
I don't know if anyone's watching
30. We've got 30 watching there at the moment, which is decent. It's very, very good.
That's a good turnout for us, so let's keep it going.
If you want Pete's view on the race instead of mine, go and watch Channel 2. He will have probably a different view to me. Maybe the same at certain points, but we try and get different ones, don't we? So we can give you a more
that's right.
broad sort
Also, we have different audio levels as well, because you won't get me played through Dan's audio. You'll get the opposite where Dan's played through mine. So you might get slightly different audio as well. It's up to you. Either way, we're here to service you on both channels. You can either get in contact on the chat box, or you can also, as JK10 has done, send messages through the Xbox Live. Oh, we've already got the race started. Was that you?
Nope.
Oh. Meanwhile, on my Xbox Live, JK10 asking, do we think it'll be a 3-horse race with victory with Paragon staying 4th, or what's the opinion? I'd be honest, I'd be expecting it to be between Hamilton, Button, and also Andy. But as I say, I mean, you might see someone like Bobbert or Paragon sneak through on race pace. It's all a question as to what the kind of approaches people are taking with the setups. But the only way we're going to know that is by getting out to the track, so let's join the grid.
The Captain Waiter, we will get to your question in a little bit, but sorry, go for it, Pete.
Yeah, on outskirts of Austin, Texas, we're going to be here for 100% distance, brought to you live by GT Omega Racing, GamePod.co.uk. 56 long laps. It's a lap that combines the best of many circuits around the world, and once the 5 lights go out, we will be racing now. So going down to the first corner, TR Butter's got the line okay. Look at Andy on the inside. He's looking to make a move, sneaky move on the inside here, as I said before. There's contact with him and Button on the outside, but he's just about got away with that. Button down to P2. Hamilton's been lost out massively here. Paragon's jumped him, and now Jambo's looking to get on the inside through the S's. But Hamilton just about hangs on Sean V, meanwhile, trying to go around the outside at the back there. But aside from the first corner, there's been a massive cluster of cars down there at the bottom of the field, all stuck together, trying to get through there and see who that is. But already we've got Hamilton down in P4, compromised now, and he's got Paragon ahead of him, and Jambo on the prime tyres all over his gearbox, along with XRL LGS, who's lost out at the start there. Sean B22 stays P7. Meanwhile, I think that's XRL Bobbert sneaking up the inside there, and one of the Salvers has managed to make that stick at the hairpin. Indigo now under pressure from XRL Bobbert, indeed it was. Right behind him in the Salver, we got Fozzie, and bringing up the reel, we got Rivo 95.
Whoa! Oh no!
Oh,
TRL Button has had a 5-second lag and gone from first to last. Or now 10th, because the Paragon was involved.
I've got ex-Lewis Hamilton in P1. How did that happen?
Lewis Hamilton did a double overtake. He overtook Paragon at the hairpin before the straight, and then made a double overtake at the hairpin on Andy and TRL Button. But TRL Button lagged back into last. Now he's working his way back up. He's now in P10. He's chasing, I think that's Ribo.
Hamilton and Andy both going wide at turn 18 there. And Jambo on the prime tyres is catching his teammate, who's being held up by the Red Bull. So this could get massively interesting later on in the race. Further back through the field, I think we've got a 2-car scrap going on towards the bottom end of the points here. According to my radar, indeed we do. So I'm going to try and catch up with that. P5, Sean B, he's making the most of this. Well, XRL Bobbert in P6 has got behind him Mr. Indigo, who's all of a sudden got Fozzie all over his gearbox as well. The battle for 6th place here. Fozzie on the option tyres while Indigo is on the prime. So Fozzie's going to have more grip initially, but that's going to go away quickly, especially the turbulent air through these chicanes where downforce is so important.
Yeah, you can get a very, very understeery sort of car through that first sector if you've got the turbulent air. He is just managing to hold on. I mean, the McLaren of NMR Mr. Indigo's, I think, giving Bobbitt's more worry than Fozzie's giving Indigo. As now we've got TRL Button.
Time. Yeah, TRL Button's looking to make a move there on the prime tyres though, because the Button is out of sequence in that result. Side by side with XRL Fozzie, but the Sauber appears to be slightly pulling away. Better straight line speed potential here. But let's go on board with TRL Button, and he tries to wall them around the outside, turns inside, hits XRL Fozzie, and drives past him. That's not a fair overtake, that at all. He hit the side pod, didn't spin him round or anything, but he literally barged into the side. Not very clean driving that.
Fozzie's looking down the inside though.
Thought about it, but he just didn't quite have the grip. We saw Jenson Button do that in the first race here at Austin in 2012, when he went up the inside of, I believe it was either Adrian Sutil or Paul di Resta in the Force India. And once again, Button extending the track at turn 18. That's a corner where we've really got to keep our eyes peeled, because in qualifying, that's where a lot of people were going off the track and gaining time.
There's a problem with all these Hermann Tilke tracks with runoffs everywhere. This first sector as well, I don't like it how there's runoffs everywhere in the first sector.
It's annoying as hell. If they really want to have runoffs, they should do it like the Paul Ricard circuit in France. For those of you who follow World Endurance, that's a test circuit used by the prototype cars, and on their runoffs, they have them, but they're abrasive. So if you go off, you damage your tyres.
Exactly.
More of that, please.
Anyway, I'm on board with Indigo. Button is starting to close up. He's been an unlucky starter. And that will help the likes of Andy. I'm thinking Andy's in the lead. No, he's not.
No, Andy's in second place behind Hamilton, and he's got Jambo not too far behind him, despite being on the prime tyres. So potential intra-team battle warming up here. But moving back through the field, you are quite correct to mention that there is pressure here under NMR Mr. Indigo, and TRL Button is going to have the DRS here, which gives him a great chance going down to the hairpin corner side by side. He's already ahead. Can he find the grip on the inside? So he crossed the white lines there. I don't think that was a legal pass.
I think he was just alright. You're not all four wheels off when you take that corner there. It's not enough. You pretty much have to hit that
we've got a
bollards.
scrap at the bottom end of the points. Fozzie in 9th, Rainbow in 10th, and then Paragon double 125 down in 11th. I think we saw him go off at the DRS hairpin.
Yeah, he had an incident, I thought, with maybe the lagging TRL Button. I didn't see anyone hit him off, so we'll have to keep an eye. Keep an eye on that one.
Indeed, we will. Paragon goes over the white lines at turn 18 now. Drivers are just, I think Paragon tried to slow it down, but everyone just seems to be extending the track. It's a classic phrase, give them an inch and they'll take a mile. But that's not the point. The rules say you can't do it, and the drivers should know better, especially in the F1 division.
Sean Bean, and we have got Bobbitt's here. Bobbitt's is on option, Sean's on the prime, and he said he was struggling, but he's taking a decent shift today so far. He's giving
TRL Button's catching quicker to the power of these guys, so they're right on board with the Red Bull driver. He's only about half a second adrift, and Sean Bean is hassling the back of that Williams, isn't he? Bobbitt's under real pressure here. Sean Bean sent me a message for Xbox Live saying, don't expect much from me in the race. Oh, how many times have we heard drivers say that before? Don't expect much, and then they're all over the top of positions. But Sean Bean's definitely at the DRS here. Question is, will TRL Button, as we go over the DRS line, flap over for Sean Bean, and Button does the too. So here we go, potential for some real fireworks into the hairpin here.
Afraid not. I think Bobbitt's just pulled out of the hairpin that fraction better than Sean Bean, and that pretty much made him hold position. TRL Button was too far off the effective pass, but the problem Button's going to have now is these guys are in battles. They're not slow drivers. Button's gonna have to. He can't. It's too difficult to make like moves just here, there, and everywhere. It's much easier when it's just one other person.
The one thing you've got to put in mind here is that TRL Button has shown lightning pace, so we don't know how he's going to be good on the brakes going into the DRS zones. Oh, Sean Bean extending the track now at turn 18. Seeing this all throughout the field, over the inside white lines, they're scruffy driving, even if you're on 100% fuel tanks. The fact is, you're in the top division, you're expected to be a top driver, and this is something that really needs to be stamped out. We're getting on the brakes into at the end of the DRS zone. Button's too far apart. But Sean B's got a little wide at the hairpin here. I wonder if TRL Button's going to have a go at trying to go up the inside of the chicanes. It has been done before. We saw Kimi Räikkönen do it on Nico Hülkenberg in 2012. So it can be done.
Yeah, TRL Button's car just looks so planted in comparison.
He's got so much more grip in that car.
He lost the back end, having said that, though. Commentators
we've lost connection to Rivo. We've lost a driver already. So now every driver's going to score a point, which is scant reward for these guys. They'll still want to be out there competing. But Button's now got a great chance on Sean Bean. See, they got a decent exit out of the hairpin, double the DRS line, flat wide open. But Sean Bean's got the same advantage on Bobbitt's ahead of him. So it's negating the straight line speed. Question is, will Button be able to stamp on the brakes of authority? Oh, great defensive driving there from Sean Bean. Drifted to the middle of the track gradually to block the corner. Masterful stuff. TRL Button took a little inside line there, but look at this. He's supposed to go around the outside of the hairpin. It's been possible to do this, but Sean B's holding the high ground, forcing TRL Button wide, side by side into full turn 8, and TRL Button's going to get through here. Really set that corner up beautifully. Good driving.
Yeah, top overtake there, because it was done a couple of corners before it actually happened. He got great drive out, took it round the outside, and wow, top move, and he's split this little battle up between Bobbitt and Sean, so Bobbitt will be happy, but...
For now, but he's going to have TRL Button all over his gearbox very, very quickly indeed. Look at the gap the Button's already pulled out on Sean. It's not a huge gap, but compared to the fact he's only just overtaken about 4 corners ago, that's already about 0.6 of a second. TRL Button really is flying at the moment. He's all out attack. He might as well. He's got nothing to lose. He's on the prime tyres. It's been compromised by the lag. He can switch his strategy around because of the extra wear. Why not go for it? And that's exactly what he's doing here. Fighting to get onto the back of it, XRL Bobbitt, trying to do his best to get near into the XRL LGS. He's under big pressure from the pair of them, heading towards the DRS zone. But up ahead of that, I think we've got an interesting battle here. I think Jambo may well call to his teammate.
Can you invite Rivo into the party? I think he's...
Well, first of all, Jambo with DRS trying to get close to the back of Ice Cold Andy. You might be my teammate, but I'm not going to make it easy for you, is what Jambo's saying here. But he's just too far apart to make the move stick this time. But Ice Cold Andy, the last thing he needs is his teammate all over his gearbox compromising his strategy. But we've got a free-car scrap between LGS, Bobbitt and TRL Button. All 3 drivers really close together as we head out of the Hockenheimer Stadium section in towards faux turn 8 at the end of sector 3. And LGS is getting decent drive off the corners though. Looks like he's got good traction in that McLaren. And that's enabling him to just break a little bit away. And Bobbitt is being dragged along for the ride, so it's not going to be easy for Button here. TRL Button going over all 4 tyres over the white line there. Straight line the corners, giving better line at the backs of XRL Bobbitt. That's naughty driving that. You can't keep doing that or you will get penalties. XRL Bobbitt tries an ambitious lane break on XRL LGS. All it gives him is a lock up, and that's got TRL Button all over the back of him. Going into the chicanes there, Bobbitt's just a little wide. TRL Button might fancy his chances here, but XRL Bobbitt is drifting left and right. Compromised grip. He's really taken life out of those tyres, but he does just enough to fend off TRL Button for now. He almost lost the car going a little too wide on the curbs. Got a bit too greedy there, Button. Almost spun the car.
Lewis Hamilton's really starting to build a good advantage at the front.
That's because of Jambo. Look at Jambo, he's all over his teammate. I'm going to have to get forward and catch that team battle despite the free car duel.
I don't know what
does always happen.
Do not know which one.
DRS flop over for Jambo. He's really close the gap on Ice Cold Andy. And on the prime tyres, he's making a move for it. He's having a go. He's not intimidated by the champion in white. On the DRS, goes a little wide on the corner. Can Ice Cold Andy fight back into the Hockenheim section? No, he can't just yet. Ice Cold Andy's race is really compromised now.
I wonder what will happen if it's like this at the end of the race. Will Jambo let his teammate through for championship purposes? Or will he...
Well, Jambo's pulled a gap on Ice Cold Andy. Ice Cold Andy is actually struggling, and LGS now is under big pressure because Bobbitt XRL Button and Sean Bean now are all getting right near the back of him as LGS watches the Bobbers go a little too far to the inside there at turn 18. Oh, and Button nearly hits the back of Bobbers, who's struggling so much for grip now. And all of a sudden, XRL Button's been put back into the clutches of Sean Bean. We're having a 4-car scrap here. XRL Bobbers fancies the outside line and LGS. XRL Button is splitting the pair of them, and that's a beautiful, masterful undercut there to take that position, and it sets him up a great bit of traction to attack LGS through the chicanes. The McLaren driver under big pressure here, he's really got to do a job to defend, goes a little wide there too, but Bullets hits the inside and coast past XRL Button, who cuts the corner to retake the position, and all of a sudden Bullets is over the inside as well. These guys are driving like it's wacky races rather than Formula 1. This is disgraceful. That's definitely going to need to be reviewed after the race. That was ridiculous. Sean B22, meanwhile, has got great drive now on the back of XRL Bobbers. DRS flat open. Bobbers has got the same advantage, but Sean B's got right under the gearbox out of the turbulent air. The drag completely gone, but the straight line speed of that Williams is just too much. And all of a sudden, Sean B's really being held up now because Bobbers is struggling badly.
We've got LMR Mr. Indigo on the back of these now. He's joined the fun.
But Bobbers is all over the place. He's really struggling for grip. He's taking the life out. Oh, his button goes wide. And Sean B dives on the inside. Masterful driving there from the Ferrari driver. Just totally caught him in his sleep. XRL Bobbers is going to have to dive into the pits here. He's going backwards through the field, worse than HRT at the moment.
Yeah, that's quite
strange that LGS has dived in. Bobbers has not. Well, that's interesting. So LGS has decided to blink early, but now Mr. Indigo is all over the back of XRL Bobbers.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that one. So Sean Bean has been promoted up to P5 with that, and he's actually got a bit of a gap on Bobbers now. So
he's also got the prime tyres, so he's got the chance here to effectively try and get himself out of the turbulent air. As does Mr. Indigo and also TRL Button. These three guys are all on the prime tyres, where the likes of LGS and the likes of Roberts have all started on the options, and they could come out behind them and really get slowed up. This is really falling into the hands of ex-Lewis Hamilton now, who's really commanding this race. It might be through fortune because of the lag, but that's not the point. You've got to make the most of your opportunities, and Hamilton's doing that so far. And Mr. Indigo, meanwhile, got a great chance under Bobbers there, who's really struggling with grip into the hairpin before the second DRS zone, over the detection line, and Mr. Indigo's definitely going to have the flap available here. Open it goes, there goes the curves as well. It saves so much of that battery to attack that Williams. Well, the Williams straight line speed is pretty special. Well, that's not enough for Indigo. He's having a go here, and Bobbers goes to the inside and holds the line beautifully. But he's really struggling out in the corners. He's got no grip whatsoever.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see him pit very, very soon.
Well, he's in danger of getting massively overhauled by LGS because he's already undercut him on strategy.
Yeah.
So Mr. Indigo trying to get close to the back of XRL Bobbers, trying to be able to attack in the first DRS zone. Meanwhile, at the same time, Bobbers, is he going to go for another tour, or is he going to dive into the box? No, he's not giving up. He's still going to push those tyres to absolute oblivion. He's got to be careful here, because he could get swamped. Meanwhile, ahead of them, someone else is in the pits. Who is that?
That's
Andy? Called Andy.
Yeah.
That's Andy. Andy is in the box in P7 now on the prime tyres. So it's come out behind XRL Bobbert and also behind Mr. Indigo, who failed to make the pass at the first DRS zone. In fact, Ice Cold Andy's under pressure here because he's got Paragon all over his back on the option tyres.
Those will be dead options now for Paragon, and he should start to pull away.
But with cold tyres, he might find it difficult. Then again, Paragon's really struggling for grip through this high aerodynamic grip section, and Andy's probably done just enough there. Indeed, Paragon going over the inside lines with all four tyres twice in a row. Not finding very comfortable on these tyres at the moment. Down in P9, XRL LGS is coming relatively clean air. He'll be happy about that. XRL Fozzy is now on the prime tyres in P10. And then, well, Lewis Hamilton on the option tyres has got a bit of a gap, around about 5 seconds to ex-Jambo. But Jambo is on the prime tyres. So that gives him a real chance to be a threat and help Andy out here. XRL Button, after all the pit stops, has got himself back up to P3 and not too far behind Jambo. So despite the lag, he's actually not lost too much ground. Sean Bean, meanwhile, the stealth assassin, is in P4, with Bobbert still holding up NMR Mr. Indigo in P5.
For any of you, actually, we will quickly mention this. We will need all of you guys who race in a league currently or have been accepted to race in the XRL driver tests starting from next Thursday. So get over to the website and put your name in, because we're going to need every driver to do it. So that's a big shout out, including all of these guys who are on the track right now. So if they're wanting to watch the race on YouTube or whenever afterwards, as we've got XRL Bobbert in the pits, he's going for a set of primes.
Paragon as well. So Andy's now in P6. Relatively clean air, because behind him by about 3 seconds is LGS. And LGS pace-wise, actually is about the same as Andy. Andy's fastest lap's a 142.688, whereas LGS is slightly faster, a 142.615. And both ran the option tyres, so race pace from LGS looks pretty solid. Meanwhile, Indigo, he's still on the prime tyres in front, and Sean Bean in P4 is doing a decent job. XRL Button, caught out by the lag there, is only a few seconds adrift now of Jambo. So the field has spread out a little bit. So while we've got a bit of a field spread, you did mention before there's some features you wanted to talk about for the league. Now's the chance to on the floor.
Right. Well, I just wanted to talk about possible things we want to do with the stream. I mean, we want to make the streams even better next season. I think we've got a few ideas. We're going to try doing multi-Twitch, so have Channel 1 and Channel 2 on like the same page. So you don't have, and then you can have 2 chat boxes on the same page as well, so you can obviously watch both streams. That'll be very good for when we have GP3 and F4 and then F5 and Tier 6 racing on the same night at the same time with 2 different streamers conflict between both of them. I think that'd be a good idea. Also wanting to look into how to make the pre-shows better for next season, so any ideas from you guys. As well as we possibly might do like an awards thing in the pre-show next week, but I need some info from you guys as Andy goes off at the penultimate corner, and now LGS is right on the back. Andy is struggling today.
Yeah, Andy's really struggling on this. Oh, he's lagged! He's lagged massively further ahead of him. He's lagged all ahead all of a sudden.
Caught that.
Andy's now lagging. That's the last thing we want. He's now all of a sudden quite a bit clear of LGS and catching up to P5, which will be NMR Mr. Indigo, I believe. Yeah, it is, in the McLaren. On the stream here, Motorsport Nerd saying in Pete what's happened so far. Well, XRL Button lit the pace of in qualifying to magnificently qualified pole on the prime tyres, and then get 5-second lag putting him at the foot of the field. So we've seen someone all around, lots of drivers abusing the track limits at turn 18, and there's been some pretty good driving all around though, with some good overtakes have been nice and clean. And the question on everyone's minds now is the intra-team battle between the Red Bulls and the Force Indias, all near the top of the front of the field. Who's going to be there at the end of the race?
Well, Andy is somewhat, I'd have said struggling, but he's currently down in P6, he's hit, Indigo's in P5, he hasn't, so I suppose undercut-wise, Andy's going to have it, but he's always going to be under pressure. XRL Button hasn't really gotten away from Sean Bean. Sean Bean's done a really good job to keep within maybe 3 seconds of him over last.
XRL Button's fastest lap is a 142.2, whereas Sean Bean's is a 142.9. Don't forget, this was the driver who said, "Don't expect much from me this week." Well, he's lapping in the same second as the guys like XRL Button, the guys like LGS, ex-Lewis Hamilton, Ice Cold Andy. So Sean Bean once again punching well above his weight on the day when it matters, race day.
Exactly. Let's have a look. So Lewis Hamilton is our leader. He's done 13 laps on these option tyres and will be getting pretty second hand by now, 13 laps in. So you would think he'll be diving into the pits, because we've seen the likes of Andy and Bobbert already, and LGS already pit for their first stop when they started on the options, as well as Lewis Hamilton. So I think Lewis Hamilton's trying to get the laps down.
Is dirty air. He's not had the dirty air chewing those tyres, so that's where he's gained the time now. But you can see the gap has come down slightly between him and Jambo. So all of a sudden, the time started to fall away. Indeed, Hamilton's fastest lap is a 142.0 on the options. On the primes, Jambo's is a 142.4. Now, what's really interesting now, it's only 2/10 of XRL Button in race pace. and he was untouchable in qualifying. On the stream, meanwhile, Motorsport asking, does Ice Cold Andy have a 20-second penalty? He does indeed. So his race is made all the more harder. Meanwhile, we do have a scrap near the bottom end of the points. Enema Mr. Indigo, who I'm guessing has gone into the box, actually, is in P9 now, behind XRL Fozzie and the Sauber. A bit early for a prime tyre stint, that 13 laps.
Yeah, from the guy who we associate with going a long way on his tyres.
Well, this week it's certainly not worked out in Austin, so we'll stay on board with these guys. They are the closest on track at the moment. Oh, and Indigo, feeling very confident going into the start of the stadium section, decided it was right to back out at the last second there, but a bit of brown trousers moment there for XRL Fozzie, because I'm sure he's getting very close to his diffuser into faux turn 8, and you can see the difference in lines there. You saw that XRL Fozzie took the wider entry, whereas Indigo took the tighter line. It's one of the things you can do there. Oh, Indigo stopping to avoid going off. XRL Fozzie did not and gained a few tenths there. That shows you just how much track extension can be a problem. And I'm hoping Codemasters are watching this, because this weight track is part of their League of Leagues. And if that's happening every lap, then it will be a disgrace. Sorry, I know that I shouldn't be talking about that too much, but we are in it, and we expect to be given a fair crack at the whip.
That's fair enough. I was going to say Jigsaw's, the testing is going to be next Thursday, Friday and Saturday, as well as the following Thursday, Friday and Saturday. So if you can't make one this week, you can make one the following week, surely. Any plans for an Xbox One edition? Well, sort of touched on that last week. I mean, when the 2014 game comes out, if it's on Xbox One, we'll do something on Xbox One, as well as 360,
well, if that happens,
sure.
You won't have me in the box. But I'm not buying the Xbox One.
It's going to be, well, I mean, we'll try and do a bit of both, especially for sort of like the first sort of 6 months, definitely. Try and, because I don't think we can just pick everything up and put it into the Xbox One. I don't think it will work like that.
DRS flap open by Indigo. They're trying to go at the inside of XRL Fozzie, but Fozzie lagging a little bit, which is the last thing Indigo needs, really. Being stuck behind a car where you don't know its exact position is the worst nightmare for a driver. And he's managing to attack, though, trying to do what Sean Bean did earlier on in the race to XRL Roberts. Indeed, he's got a better line there. But once again, he's just going, Fozzie's going all over the place. Indigo will be looking at this and going, where are you? What are you doing? Come on. It's not lost. Well, we've got someone else in the pits there. Who's that?
Is that Lewis Hamilton for his first stop?
XRL Fozzie, let's ride on board. Boberts and
yeah, it's Lewis Hamilton for his first stop. He's gone down to P5. So he's actually gone. He's behind Andy.
Ice Cold Andy.
Undercut him. Pretty impressive.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting, because Hamilton certainly seems to have the legs there. Really surprised at that, so I was thinking that Andy boxed quite early. But the question is, will that affect tyre wear towards the end of the race? We know that Ice Cold Andy likes to be attacking on his pit stop strategies, so he may force himself into an extra stop. Going to be a bit of an interesting game of chess here. And also, we've still got the likes of Sean Bean 22 and also TRL Button ahead, who run old prime tyres. They could affect this battle quite easily. So, meanwhile, moving further back through the field, I've just seen there's a bit of a battle going on here. I wonder who that is. Battle for P7. We've got XRL Boberts, no. Oh yeah, it's XRL Fozzie again, along with Mr. Indigo. And Indigo's rather DRS available here, down towards the hairpin. But again, where's Fozzie on track? He's the great unknown at the moment. Toe got great extra overspeed there from Fozzie. Providing there's no lag here, this should be a pass from Indigo. Getting a bit ginger on the inside. Oh, again, looked like all four tyres are on the white line to me there. Might have only been millimetres, but that's all it takes to break the rules.
Lewis Hamilton getting close to Ice Cold Andy, who's been on those tyres now for about 6 odd laps. So Lewis Hamilton on those fresher set, got the DRS going to turn 1. Don't think he'll get close enough to make a move.
On Xbox Live, Jamie2503 has just said he can make the 27th and the 29th as far as testing goes. So make sure you put that on the forum, exciteracingleague.com. There is a thread dedicated to testing. Put your name down there. That way you're guaranteed to have it saved in the memory.
I think I might have put him down on the 28th because he said he could do the 27th. That was already booked up. Rusty's going to be running the 29th. I think he's watching the stream, so you can race in that one. And it gives me one less person to beat because I think Ice
Cold Andy has really caught to the back of Sean Bean 22, but ahead of him, we've got a battle for second place here because Jambo is under pressure now from TRL Button, who's got the DRS flap open effectively for the lead here because these guys are really getting pressured on. But Jambo's got a great gearbox there and he's managed to hold out. Behind them, meanwhile, Ice Cold Andy side by side with Sean Bean, pulls ahead of the Ferrari into the hairpin corner, and Ice Cold Andy says thank you very much. Now he goes a little wide on exit though, so technically was that an illegal pass? Oh, but ex-Lewis Hamilton's got a great drive as Sean Bean. Thinks about going around the outside in the middle of hairpins here. Sean Bean's lack of grip is really hurting him. And ex-Lewis Hamilton's fancying the same move he did as Sean Bean earlier. Sean Bean did that to Bobbitt, and now he's got a taste of his own medicine as ex-Lewis Hamilton makes a very fine pass indeed for fourth. And is now very close to Ice Cold Andy. On the stream, Motorsport Nerd asking, is the stewards report out for Abu Dhabi as Hamilton goes wide at turn 18 once again?
No, it isn't, because Bobbitt thought that although I called him on Friday to get it sorted, he thought he'd leave it until Sunday, realised he was working until 5 and then didn't do it. So I'm hoping it'll be out tomorrow, and I apologise to John, who's probably watching the stream, that it isn't done. He's got my ones, he's got GP2s, just waiting on the 2 other divisions, which is a bit of a shame, but hopefully that'll sort itself out. Anyway, look, so we've got
TRL
Force
Button all
India
over
and Red
Jambo.
Bull scraps then. We've got Force India, Red Bull,
literally
Force
is
India,
Force
Red Bull.
India, Red Bull. Yeah, exactly. Let's say it. Force India, Red Bull, Force India, Red Bull. And the thing is, both Ice Cold Andy and ex-Lewis Hamilton are catching the pair ahead.
They've got
then
a pit
again,
stop.
they've got prime tyres.
Yeah, that is true. I think when these guys run the options later on in the race, when the others are on primes, they'll close the gap. But it's
look at that, it's come down very quickly there actually. And Ice Cold Andy's going to be under big pressure here because Hamilton has got the DRS flat wide open. This is effectively for the lead here. Ice Cold Andy may have undercut him on strategy. And TRL Button meanwhile making an attack on Jambo, but he's just been able to force out whilst Ice Cold Andy goes over the inside. All 4 tyres over the hairpin. He's definitely gained an advantage there and kept Hamilton behind him. That's really not very fair driving from Ice Cold Andy at all. I mean, TRL Button's now in the lead. TRL Button's got past Jambo. I didn't see that on my screen.
Jambo ran wide after the long straight. He just ran wide.
But Ice Cold Andy definitely gained an advantage on Hamilton. Oh, and now Andy's lagged as well. The last thing we want to be saying. Oh, Hamilton nearly went into the back of Andy there because he almost lagged into the back of him. Managed to stop it though as TRL Button dives into the pits. As Hamilton goes wide at the final corner. Very scruffy driving here by the F1 division. And now Hamilton has just watched Andy lag ahead of him and go past his teammate into the first corner for the lead.
Well, Andy's got the lead, I think.
He has got the lead, but once again he lagged twice. This is not good, and I'm wondering, is that a sign that his connection is going to go belly up? If it does, the title will definitely be decided in Sao Paulo. If Lewis Hamilton can beat him, we may well see the title decided in Sao Paulo. Andy's now got a chance to win the title here at Austin, Texas.
Yeah, it surprised me. I thought, oh, brave move.
Brave move, Hamilton there! Dies on the brakes very, very late, and he's going to have the DRS to pull away as well. Masterful stuff.
Vital to make that move there, and then he's got the DRS, he's pulling away. His next target is now Andy, P4. Who's in P4? It's LGS. He's got a bit of a gap between anyone. It's Bobbitt's in P5.
TRL Button in P6. He's on the option tyres, and he's behind XRL Bobbitt in the Williams. He's got the DRS flat wide open. Fresh option tyres. Bobbitt isn't probably going to fight too much here. Down towards the hairpin corner. Button's just got to make sure he stops it in time. Bobbitt's tries to go the outside way, but tries very fairly. Concedes the position. TRL Button is now in clean air on the options. This could be a massive spanner in the works. LGS, meanwhile, in P4 is in clean air on the primes, as is Jambo, but I think Jambo may well dive into the box here, as TRL Button, yeah, he's reacted to TRL Button. So let's ride on board with the Red Bull driver. Has he been able to undercut Jambo in the Force India? He was technically in the lead, but it's a question of how much time he gained.
Sean Bean's in P6. There's a little train of cars here.
There is, yeah, I'm just looking at that. Meanwhile, TRL Button is definitely going to come out ahead of Jambo. In fact, Jambo might find himself passed here by a few of the other cars. Indeed, I think that's all Jess has just gone through, and Sean Bean. So he's come out in P7 and ahead. No, not P8 even. Because I think that's the man Mr. Indigo has just gone past him around the outside. Jambo's really come out in a bad position here. He's come out right in the middle of a train of cars. That's the last place you want to be. On the stream, Andy, Motorsport Nerd saying, should Andy retire? Well, I don't know. I mean, what are the rules regarding that? He's not ghosting, he's just lagging.
If it's just lag, then no. If it's ghosting and we're confident that it is, then we can ask. But we'll keep an eye on
Jambo,
it.
meanwhile, has got a great chance to attack at him, Mr. Indigo, and he's making the same move Hamilton tried to make on him, but Indigo goes wide, and as a result of that, he's got a clean pass there, and now Sean Bean has got a chance to attack the back of... Oh, he's not got DRS. Sean Bean's DRS doesn't appear to be functional. And then Mr. Indigo, despite having no DRS, is closing on Jambo. He's got XRL Fozzy behind us, and obviously Mr. Indigo can't afford to hang around. But I think that's how his position sorted out. Meanwhile, just received a message through Xbox Live from Crazy Fish. Have many premium people picked their cars for next season? Well, Dan, you're the man in charge of the league. Maybe you can answer that one.
Put me on the spot. Put me on the spot, why don't you? I think most of them have. I mean, I will check on the final race week of the season after the final race week, so...
Sean B makes an attempted pass at the final corner, but he hit Boberts and went wide. That means he's gained a double advantage. Sean B should let Boberts back through, or he will be staring down the barrel of a penalty. But coming into turn one, Sean B's not let him through yet. In fact, he's actually resisted XRL Boberts. Well, that's one that's going to have to be reviewed after the race, because I don't think that was clean for Sean B, and he should know better.
I didn't quite catch that on mine. I was just on board, I think, with Force India behind of Jambo, so I wasn't quite sure.
Well, I caught it, so that's something for the stewards to review.
Yeah, that's fine. Note that down.
Jambo, meanwhile, is caught right into the back of these now. Next XRL Boberts under big pressure. Jambo on the option tyres. He's still got a dabble at the inside hairpin, but backs out of it the last second there. Realises he might just not have the grip. Now, Mr. Indigo is going to have DRS on the pair of these guys, but he's got a poor X off the hairpin, so Jambo's got a great chance now. DRS flap open, Boberts has got the same advantage on Sean Bean. Both cars following in the train of the Ferrari down towards the hairpin, and Boberts makes a late attempt at the pass and stays within the white lines, but Sean Bean goes wide, and he's actually looking to drive back past him. In fact, Sean Bean definitely gained an advantage there. Not only did he potentially force him wide, but he actually went off the track to settle the move. But Boberts is not having any of it, and he's still fighting back. Sean Bean goes wide again, and he's passed by both Jambo and Boberts. Jambo around the outside of full turn 8. This will be a very brave move if he can make this stick. And unbelievably into turn 18, both guys make contact. But Jambo's managed to keep it clean, and then Mr. Indigo now is facing a Sean Bean into the final corner.
Amazing stuff there.
On the stream, I look Jigsaws is saying, yeah. Surely Andy should be asked to leave like Velocity was in Korea. Velocity were lagging was in front of everyone, so it should be the same. And Rice Paddy Gaming says he agrees because he doesn't think it's fair on other drivers. Well, they raised an interesting point there, because Velocity was asked to leave in Korea, but Velocity didn't leave.
It was Japan, and he did leave, and he was ghosting.
Well, there you go, that's your answer to that one, people.
Whereas Andy is not ghosting, he's just lagging ever so. Otherwise, we'd have Jamie being asked to leave every race in GP2, because it's absolutely awful. Quick question on Velexity, where is he tonight, Jigsaws? Do you have any idea? Because he did a track guide for me, and then, I don't know. I don't know where he is.
MIA. Meanwhile, Sean Bean is now looking at the back of XRL Boberts, having that brazen of passes done on him in the final sector. And he's actually falling away from the Williams, but Sean Bean, I don't think he's yet boxed.
No, he has boxed once. He has boxed once.
He has boxed once, right. So he's in a poor position now then. He's been passed by these guys on track. But despite that, he's having a go at XRL Boberts. He's not letting this Williams driver get away from him. And I think he's fancying a little sly cut here. Goes all four tyres over the inside and a hairpin there. All the drivers really pushing the luck with regards to the track limits this race. And again, it's another race where I'm really disappointed by the conduct of the driving for that. The white lines define the track. Stay inside them. Look at that, 2 corners in a row there from Sean Bean. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. I mean, of course, on the stream, you just saw XRL Bobbers decide that he missed the corner completely. Drivers are pretty much making their own racetracks out there, and yes, you can say that it's symptomatic of these modern sanitised circuits, but the fact of the matter is, if people aren't going to clamp down on the rules, then of course drivers are going to do it. They need to start getting really, really harsh with this. It's a good job that in real life F1 I'm not a steward. We're probably leaving the track at midnight. Me on the stream, what's your view, viewers? What do you think about the excessive track guides? What do you think? Are drivers right to push out there and use the extra turf? Or are drivers gaining an unfair advantage? We want your opinions. Interact, both with me on Channel 2 and Dan on Channel 1, or through Xbox Live if you're watching on the Twitch app. As Sean Bean tries to go into the back there of XRL Roberts, it's getting very, very close, but just about backs out of that one. And through the Hockenheim Stadium, yeah, Sean makes a very clean attempt, but goes, just in the white lines there with both guys, are side by side. They're touching wheels through this corner. How are they finding the grip there? Sean Bean gives XRL Bobbers a little kiss. Bobbers is not yielding though, he's not giving up, as Sean Bean and XRL Bobbers both go off the track. Sean Bean's going to have to get that up. And the Bobbers now is pushing Sean Bean wide, and then Mr. Indigo, quite rightly she points out, was on board with for the whole of that. It's now got DRS on the pair of them. We're going to have a 3-car tango here down towards the first corner. XRL Bobbers gets on the brakes early, it's in the centre. Indigo dives on the inside, but Sean Bean's just got the extra grip there. That was very, very close, but very, very fair. On the stream, Isle of Jigsaw says, it's unfair, it's extending the track. Lets them carry more speed and gain a clear advantage. I completely and utterly agree. At the end of the day, if you're able to carry more speed by going wide, you should not be allowed to do it. It's like in the classic case, of course, of last year's real-life race at India 2013, where Charlie Whiting said to the drivers, oh, well, you're actually going a longer distance, so it's okay. And then afterwards, Mark Webber was saying, I actually lost time there when I did that. To which, of course, both Eddie Jordan and Anthony Davidson said, well, if it cost you time, why did you do it every lap?
Exactly.
And both guys were very quiet at that point, because there's no answer to that. Vice Penny Gaming just says this is not good on track limits, as Sean Bean gets very close here to XRL Bobbers, pushing towards the inside there. Bobbers is really being very, very defensive here on these bright tyres. He's not having a comfortable time. Sean Bean's going to dive down the inside. Bobbers saw it coming. Both guys contacted. Indigo's going to go past the pair of them. And also, at the same time, XRL Fozzie has got a chance to follow him through, which he does. The Sauber driver taking clear advantage there, showing sometimes you just got to know when to give up, sit back and wait. But XRL Bobbers fights back. Goes wide at turn 18, and that gives him the edge to complete the move.
Fozzie's in though.
Even so, that was an unfair move from Bobbers. He might have only gained him a 10 for time, but it's a 10 for time he shouldn't have. On the stream, I've received a message from JK10, and he says the drivers are meant to be examples, but they are just abusing the limits. Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. At the end of the day, these are our top division, these are our best drivers, so we expect them to be the best conduct on the track, as well as the best pace. And so far, we're not seeing it. I mean, what's your view, Dan?
Well, no, it's not good, is it? I mean, you shouldn't be having to do that. I drive, obviously, in GP2, and I will defend the drivers up until a certain point. I mean, you can just do it by the odd mistake, but the thing is, if people are doing it every lap and they're doing it at the same corners and it's clear that they're gaining an advantage, then, you know, they should be penalised for it.
Agree completely.
You know, sometimes drivers can make errors and they run wide, yes.
Speaking of Sean Bean, he's suddenly going very, very slowly. He's down in P10 and has drove into the wall. Now he's reversing.
What's up with it?
I don't know. I'm on board with him at the moment, and he's going very slowly. Can you just check where he's on track for you?
Yeah,
he's in P10 for me, and he's just got going.
Accelerating on the straight, yeah.
Well, that's very strange there. I wonder if he had a controller disconnect or something, because he's lost a shed load of time.
He was right up there.
There you go, viewers. Crime does not pay. Well, it's not really crime, but you know what I mean. Motorsport Nerd, meanwhile, says it isn't very good on track standards here. And Al Jigsaw's once again says, if it was once every few laps, I wouldn't mind. I would, once every few laps over a long distance. If you do it once every few laps, that means you're allowed to do it 20 times. No. Once or twice every
I'm
race.
still watching Sean, I don't really know what's going on.
Meanwhile, Jamie2503, he's pushed an epic here. Let's take a look at this. Saying track limits are difficult to stay in with pushing and fuel loads, and sometimes it does give an advantage, but I don't think they deserve penalties for running a bit wide off track. We've got a person defending the drivers here. Well, I mean, sure, fuel loads can compromise it, but that's why you practice. That's why you get used to it. Al Jigsaw's meanwhile is asking why is one stream ahead of the other. Whose stream? I don't know which one's ahead. I mean, maybe give me more information for that, because I don't know why. I mean, we're both in the same lobby, so unless there's something to do with the connection. Oh, meanwhile, one of the drivers appears to have made a mistake ahead. Who's that? Oh, no, I think that's Sean Bean again. He stopped just before the full turn 8, I think. Yeah, he's now a lap down. He's a full lap down on the likes of Ice Cold Andy, the likes of X-Jambo, the likes of TRO Button. He's going very wide through full turn 8. I think he's trying to enter last to be retired. He's nearly 3 minutes on this lap.
I think he's got something wrong with his pedals or steering. Something's going wrong with his wheel.
Something's gone very wrong now. This is going to be a retirement. He's a full lap down.
He would drive like this by, choice.
Yeah.
There's something wrong. He should have turned there.
According to Jigsaw's, my channel is ahead of yours.
Odd one.
By like a good 10 seconds. I have no idea why. Sean Bean, I think he's going to be retiring
Rusty
here.
says, I don't think he can turn left. Which I think's right, is true.
Yeah, he's finally got into the pits, and I think, well, yeah, he's retired straight away. Let's get him in here for his comments, but I think, as what Rusty said, it sounds to me like he's got a big problem with his car. Well, that's the first actual mechanical retirement we've seen properly in the sport on this game. We've actually seen that before. There's an idea for your co-masters. Let's see more of that in the real races. So let's try and get him here to find out what happened. Meanwhile, we received a stream from JK10 saying, has it been like this all year for the traffic limits, and if not, where? Well, that's actually a very good question, because we saw it in India, we saw it in Abu Dhabi, we've seen it in quite a few of the others. Sean Bean, what happened? That's if you can hear us.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, what happened there, mate? Your car just seemed to not work.
I think my wheel settings have gone a bit funny because I'm only getting half lock in both directions. So I'm not getting full lock left and right, so I can't go around the tight corners. So I'm having to go really slow.
We saw you really struggling to get into the pits. I mean, have you been driving around the whole race, or did it suddenly just happen?
It happened literally on that lap. It was fine up until then, and then I just went round turn 1 and the car just didn't turn in.
Oh, it's a real shame, because your pace actually looked pretty solid. I mean, at one point you were hassling the likes of TRL Button and the likes of X-Jambo. You really showed you've actually got decent pace in the car. I mean, while Ice Cold Andy has been let through by Jambo during the chicanes there, that was definitely a team order. But going back to you then, Sean, I mean, you really seem to have pace out, because you did say before not to expect much from you, but you definitely seem to have the pace in the race.
Yeah, it's a shame really. I mean, I thought I had a good chance for a top 5, but I've just got to get these wheel settings sorted out so it doesn't happen at Brazil.
Speaking of Brazil, then, do you reckon you've got a great chance there to pick up some good final points in the final race of the season?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I've done some practice around there. I've got very strong pace, in my opinion, compared to other people on time trial and on multiplayer as well. So, I think I've got a good chance for a win, and if not, then maybe a podium.
Excellent. Well, Sam, I mean, good thing is you've got yourself a lot of recon data here for tomorrow night for the GP2 race. Providing you get your wheel settings order, are you confident of possibly getting another victory there?
I won't be racing tomorrow, unfortunately. I mean, because it's my exam week, I've got to prioritise that. The only reason I'm racing tonight is I've got my studying down early. But because my walk's not tomorrow, I won't be able to find the time to race tomorrow. So it's down to Brazil for my final race.
See, I was right, Sean. You can just do like one practice session and you're quick, so...
I think I was fortunate actually that there was so much held up and a bit of lag to TRL Button, but for your sake, Dan, yes, okay, one practice.
For my sake, yeah, whatever. I was right. Just a minute, right?
Well, obviously, you are going to be back then for Sao Paulo, I presume.
Yes, I will.
Well,
not
in the
for
meantime,
F1, but for the GP2.
Well, the main thing then is best of luck with that, and hope you can go out with your season on a high. Thanks for your time, and well, commiserations for the failure of the wheel.
Right, no problem, and thank you very much. See you all soon.
Alright, take care. Well, in the meantime, since Ice Cold Andy's been let through by his teammate, the field's really spread out again. Because we've got Max Jambo currently in P3, and then P2 TRL Button. He's doing a good job now on these option tyres, but he's a good 5 or 10 seconds of drift of his teammate Hamilton. So Hamilton's really making hay while the sun shines here.
Quick question if Jigsaw is still watching. See if Alexi still wants to do his Cody's race on Wednesday around Spain. Toasty's just come online, and I know why Alexi wasn't racing. End of season syndrome.
Possibly. Well, in the meantime then, we've got Paragon of 125 who's caught up to the back of XRL Bobbitt's driving for Williams. So we'll stay on board with these guys. So we've got a bit of a duel here. Looking pretty good here. Paragon of 125 with the DRS got a great run on the back of that Williams being run by Bobbitt, but he's just not got the straight line speed. No. Bobbitt seems to have really set his car up to defend that sector. It's obviously compromising him elsewhere on the lap though, because he's really struggling with rear end grip. So he's definitely gone for the old Toro Rosso approach and the Nico Hulkenberg for Sauber approach of make the car a bullet in a straight line and just try and do what you can to hold the field up. It can cause a lot of headaches for the other drivers, but you can really punch above your weight if you get it right on the right circuit. But here in the circuit in the Americas, it's so easy to go off as he's demonstrating there. He's losing quite a lot of time. Meantime, Motorsport breaking his silence regarding his hiatus, saying he's fed up with all the BS that's happened to him this season and needs a recharge so his motivation doesn't go for the next season. I do understand, I mean, there's BS that happened to me that forced me to retire, to be honest, so I completely understand where you're coming from. But you are a very good driver, so best of luck for your next season. And obviously with the next season, we are going to see new drivers coming into the league. It'll be interesting to see what some of the old guard who are returning bring to the table. F1 Speed's coming back, along with Reese24. Now, he is an ex-double champion. It'll be interesting to see what pace he's got on this game.
I think it's good. I think it's good, but I don't really think he practices. I think that might change when it gets to the start of the season.
It'll be interesting to see what he can bring, and obviously with being a double champion, he knows what it takes to actually win it. But we also saw at the end of that season on the 2012 game where he just seen all the wheels came off the axle and he stopped performing. So who knows where he's at, but hopefully he's got his motivation there and the pace. Meanwhile, XRL Bobbitt, went very deep there. Paragon followed him and almost went into the back of him, but got out of that at the last second. Meanwhile, according to Jigsaw's, my channel's still slightly ahead of yours by 3 or 4 seconds. I honestly don't know why. It might be because of the amount of people watching, because I've only got 6 people watching on my stream, according to my data. Now, if Dan's got a lot more people watching it, it might be affecting the bandwidth. That's the only thing I can think of. Other than that, I really don't know. Meanwhile, XRL Bobbitt's once again going wide at turn 18. I don't care how easy it is to go wide. Stop doing it.
As a reply to JK's question, has it been happening all season? No, it hasn't. I'd say it's only really started happening when we hit this Herman Tilke designed back end of the season. I would say career
Bobbitt's just defended turn 1 there by going over the inside, and now he's hit Paragon and gone off the track. And Bobbitt's just thrown back past him by going off the track by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think Paragon was the one who hit Bobbitt, so Paragon let him back. But I'd say from India, so it's been India, Abu Dhabi, and this week. Would you say track limits wise? Pretty cool.
I think track limits has really been a problem since we got into the. I think it's not just been the Herman Tilke circuits. It's been the fact we've had a lot of them together. When you think about it, you've got India, Abu Dhabi, and America all very, very close to each other. But we did see it slightly earlier in the season. We had a few issues at Monaco with it as well, where people were cutting the corners on the inside a bit too easily. Paulo next weekend. I mean, you've got corners there where it's easy to cut. The centre S's, turns 4 and 5, the big long corner at the end of sector 1. You've got jump cow, you've got 6 and 7. So, to be honest, I won't be surprised if it happens again. But I mean, just look at that. From Paragon double 125 and XRL Bobbards. Both come. Oh, Ice Cold Andy's lost connection! We've lost connection to Ice Cold Andy! The title is going to go to the wire in Sao Paulo! No idea what's caused that!
Oh,
and on the stream, meanwhile, Dan doesn't care.
Oh dear, Andy, what is going on with you these days? He's thrown away. His connection is thrown away this season.
Jamie2503 says he reckons that track limits are only abused on a few circuits, such as this one. As we were just saying, Jamie, you're quite right. A lot of it is because of the design. I mean, look at Paragon there. Cut the inside, went wide on the outside. I mean, you know, he's getting ragged and obviously it's frustrated. I mean, stuck in behind XRL Bobbards. But that's absolutely no excuse. You can't just keep going off the track. Oh, well, the only reason it happened was because he was holding me up. That's not the point. You know, he's holding you up because it's a reason. It's racing. You can't just go outside the track limits for that reason. XRL Bobbards goes to the inside and a hairpin after the DRS zone. Paragon Francis going on the outside. He's all 4 tyres over the white line there, Paragon. That's definitely going to be a legal pass if he goes through, which indeed he does. He gained an unfair advantage by going wide. Oh, now Bobbards just hit him at the back end. I was a little confident on the brakes there, but didn't get an advantage from it. Slowed right down, but I think Paragon may have overtaken illegally at that DRS zone. On the stream, meanwhile, a few comments from Sean Bean saying, you know, commiserations to him, and he's saying best of luck there. Andy, what happened? Your pace seemed pretty solid, but then you seemed to drop out of the race. It's just a standard disconnection again.
Yep, and that's my title chances fucked because I've got a 20-second penalty for Brazil, and Hamilton's probably going to win the race.
Well, I mean, what's your pace like in Brazil? It's a track where everyone seems to do quite strongly.
Well, I don't know, but I know for a fact that if he picks up the 25 points, then he's going to be 2 points behind me. And of course, I've got the penalty, which is still going to be applied. So I'm just going to say that I'm going to lose it.
Well, I mean, it's not, at the end of the day, you still got to fight for the chance, and you will still be in the lead. Obviously, this race is not yet over yet, so we don't know if the likes of TR or Button will change the things. But obviously, you are on the back foot now going into Sao Paulo due to that penalty. Obviously, you're going to be giving it your all, throwing the kitchen sink at next week.
Well, I'll just have to. Like, I mean, I'm just gonna have to drive as hard as I can, just be as aggressive as I can. I'm not going to be sitting back for a second.
Yeah, a bit of practicing. How much practice have you had this week? Because it didn't seem you were at your best today.
I didn't have a lot of pace in the high field, but so that's why I was undercutting quite. That's why I was trying to undercut quite a lot, but it's not a lot really.
And what about Wednesday this week? Is there any chance you could race on Wednesday or not?
Should have an answer by tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, even if it's like just like I know you probably do it half-term week.
And I'm trying to go with DRS open on the back of XRL Fozzy. Dives up the inside of turn 1 for a DRS assisted pass. But XRL Fozzy got a much better line in the chicane and takes the position back.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Andy, if it's only one other race, just because like you skive it or something, whatever you need to do, it would be helpful.
I don't know. I'm so annoyed. Like, I should have had this title wrapped up in Abu Dhabi and instead of my own.
Well, I mean, it's frustrating when that happens, but at the end of the day, we've seen so many great people take the title that way.
It's ridiculous, because I had wired connection as well, and it should have beaten fine, but obviously it's not. So.
We'll try and change the host next week. Try and change it for you to...
And then Mr. Indigo, DRS wide open, passes XRL Fozzy, can he get the car stopped into the final hairpin? Oh, Indigo goes over the inside! All 4 tyres.
We'll try and get Nige to host next week. Is that alright?
See you later, boy. Yeah.
Alright, Andy, well, take care of yourself. Thanks for your comments. Our driver is clearly not happy with what things have happened. Can you blame him, really? I mean, he was in a position to pick up quite a few points, and even if he'd have finished behind Hamilton, he'd have given himself a great chance. But now with Hamilton pretty much out in front...
2 points for him today, so what's that? He'll be 5 points ahead if...
Yeah, but even so, with the difference between second and first, that's all it's got to take. And even the difference between second and third is only just going to be able to retain the title. So it's going to be a pretty difficult one here. Ice Cold Andy really struggled. Meanwhile, Rice Penny Game is saying he reckons that XRL Fozzie was let back through due to cutting turn 1. Well, either way, it was still great grip from Fozzie to go around that chicane anyway. So really good performance there. XRL Fozzie now down in P6 behind NMR Mr. Indigo, who's suddenly caught up to the back of one of the Red Bulls. That's TRL Button, who's on another set of prime tyres. Now, is that his first stop? Can't be, surely.
No, this is his second, but will he try to get to the end? Can he get? He's just pit, so 23 laps. No, he's going.
Well, lower fuel is potentially possible. We saw Sean Bean do about 20 before he went in, and he had a steering wheel problem, so it's definitely possible. And then Mr. Indigo on the option tyres, having a go at Button here, but he's just too far behind. And once again, track limit's really being pushed here. Moving back through the field, we do have another scrap going on. That's actually XRL Bobbert and Paragon. They're still going at it, hammer and tongs, these two. Really giving us some entertainment side by side. Oh, but wheel banging there from Paragon and the Ferrari. Bobbert goes up the inside anyway and goes, you're not intimidating me that easily. In towards faux turn 8, these guys are just scrapping at it, and why the hell not? They might be at the bottom end of the points, but you might as well enjoy your racing. In towards turn 18, Paragon looking at the inside of XRL Bobbert. Bobbert goes off the track. Paragon's going to attack position into the DRS detection zone, goes over the inside lines there. So both guys really abusing the limits. And XRL Bobbert has not got the DRS, but Paragon realises that it doesn't look very fair. It doesn't use the DRS and lets Bobbert back through. Sportsman driving, got to be said. Well, these guys, look at that from Paragon. Completely cut the inside of the first corner. This is entertaining, but it's definitely very scrappy. Well, another message received for Xbox Live from Jamie2503 saying, yeah, a few times is okay, but most of the drivers are doing it far too many times. And that's the thing we are looking out for this season, in any season, really. You know, drivers... You get away with the odd one, especially if they can explain it in a post-race steward meeting. But when you're doing it all the time, like we've seen XRL Bob, it's just a good example right there. Goes right over the inside at the start of the DRS zone. Who's that going to advantage himself?
Indigo now is trying to catch up for P3, and that will be LGS, who's had a recent
Paragon's had a very late dive here with XRL Bobbert, so Bobbert holds the line, not intimidated by the charging Red Bull and our Ferrari. He's not making it easy for the Prancing horse today. Sorry,
Leader is in. Leader is in and is back out again, and he is going to hold the lead. So Jambo, who's in P2, I believe, is going to have to stop reasonably soon. Is in second place, so Lewis
Hamilton's got to pray that his connection holds up and he doesn't suffer the same fate as Ice Cold Andy, because if he does, we're on for a potential thriller as Paragon dives into the pits, briefly goes ahead with XRL Bobbert, but it doesn't matter as always like that. Paragon's retired from the race.
Get him in.
That's interesting. I wonder what he's retired for. I wonder if he was getting a lot of people complaining he was lagging potentially, because some drivers, if they get too many complaints, will retire even if they're not asked to. Let's find out. Well, that's a bit of an anticlimax there. Those guys were in a really entertaining duel. Meanwhile, NMR Mr. Indigo has got ahead of TRL Button in P3.
No, that's LGS.
Oh, it's LGS,
TRL
sorry.
Button's about 3 seconds down.
Hello, Paragon.
Hello. I just, my hand is killing me, and I was exceeding the track limits a bit too much with my steering, so I thought I'm just going to retire. Wasn't happy.
Okay, so how was it driving around the injury? I mean, obviously, we heard about the issue with your fingers to downshift and everything else. It sounded like a real handful.
Well, I spun it on turn 4, put it in reverse, on the first lap when I was up in P3.
That's why I thought you went down. I was wondering where
I thought someone might have hit you, but fair enough. Oh, well, so that's a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But you've got yourself some recon. Do you reckon you'll be significantly better position for Sao Paulo next week?
Yeah, I think I will. I felt like I had... The problem was, over one lap I was alright, it was consistent.
Oh, sorry to cut in, one moment. TRL button down at the inside here of XRL LGS under DRS, in towards turn 1, keeps it nice and clean, and that's as simple as you like.
routine pass.
Indeed. So carry on, Paragon, sorry.
Yeah, it was just the consistency that was hurting me. I couldn't keep putting the same laps in, lap over lap. I think I had the pace on 5 or 6 drivers in there, ultimately, if I never spun it on the first lap. I was happy with qualifying, though, put it in P4. But next week, yeah, hopefully I can be up there in the top 6, top 5, see what happens.
I think the pace was good, qualifying pace was good. I think take off the injury, I think you are competitive in this division. So I'm a little bit reluctant to put you into GP2. I've got to have a little think, really. I know, but we'll see. I mean, yeah, the pace looks good for you. And Brazil's one of those tracks where I think everyone's pretty quick at it. So, I mean, qualify, it should be a lot closer between a lot more people, and who knows, could be a very, very good race. And with the championship as it is, I think everything matters.
I mean, the way I see it, I think there's about 6 drivers in the league that probably have the pace on me.
I think TRL Buttons is class ahead of everyone else, if I'm honest.
Well,
but
I think
his inconsistency
Dandy, Button,
on the
Jambo,
100%.
Lewis Hamilton, they all have, you know, fantastic pace, especially on the heavy fuel.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is as well, I mean, Sao Paulo, due to the nature of the track, is one where we've seen this in the past, where a lot of divisions are very competitive with each other. So I'd be very surprised if we see anything more than a second difference in ultimate pace between the whole field. So I think next week's going to be a real Russian roulette as to who wins, and who knows, Paragon, you might be able to go out on the season with a real high and take a victory. So either way, fantastic effort tonight. Not many people have been able to do what you did driving around an injury like that, so very well done, and best of luck for next week.
Thanks, mate.
Well, in the meantime then, the field's now bunched up a bit at the front, potentially. NMR Mr. Indigo chasing down his teammate LGS, who's really fallen away from Button. Now that Button's got clear of him, he's easily opened up a 1 or 2 second gap there on LGS. Meanwhile, on the stream, bit of a discussion regarding GP2, actually. Sean Bean was asking, can Tom 625 win tomorrow so we can take the championship to the last race? What kind of champion are you? You want to win it as early as possible. Well,
you can't race tomorrow. You can't race. I think that's all. Oh, but that is true. It would make it interesting. But yeah,
apparently Tom has to get 4th or higher in order to be able to stop that happening. So obviously GP2 will be live tomorrow night on Channel 1. I'll be in the box along with Chris Moss bringing you coverage of that race. And obviously we're then off to Sao Paulo, where anything is possible, to be honest. I have no idea who's going to win there.
Short track, long straights. I mean, yeah, it has all the potential. I love it for the last sort of championship race. It's going to be interesting. Actually, a quick question I'll put to you guys on the stream. And I think I know one of you might have commented on this. Does Mr. Ice Cold Andy deserve to have all of his penalties from India, I think it was? Does he deserve to keep carrying them through, although he disconnects? I don't know what your take is on that, Pete.
I think, realistically, you'd have to take the FIA approach in the same way as it's a DNF. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I want to actually read the rule on that with regards to how it works in the FIA World Championship. Because I know that if you get given a penalty, you get given like a grid penalty. I think you get applied no matter what. Whereas in the race, you have to serve it at your next race where you are. So the 20-second penalty, I believe, is to the results. The only problem we've got is that we can't appoint them in the race. We can't appoint them on the grid. Usually, if you've got if you have say you abuse the track limits too much, or you're found guilty of causing an accident, you get a grid penalty. You don't get it applied to your next race result. You get it applied to your grid start. Now, the only way we could really work around that, I mean, this might be something we might want to look into for next season, if I'm right on this, is maybe to make drivers do what we do on the stream, where if you've got that penalty, rather than giving, say, 10, 20 seconds, you have to drive over the pit lane line so you guarantee the 10-place grid drop, and make it so they have to take a grid drop rather than these results. Because I'm pretty sure in F1, you don't get one that carries over to your race result. You get it to your grid position instead.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite an interesting take on it. I think I would like to hear your comments as well. I mean, it's something that might well happen, because we want to make this championship as interesting as possible. We don't want it to go down to someone like Andy getting a penalty from like a few races back added to it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got to punish the drivers who are breaking the rules, and ultimately totting up is there. But again, I mean, most of these penalties come from totting up, don't they? Where it's like so many points on your XRL license.
It could be like a 10-place grid drop or a quali ban.
Well, this is the thing in F1 itself. If someone's, it's very similar to the reprimand system. In this year, they've got the points on the licence. They brought it in for this season. But if you go by last season, you were allowed, I think it was 2 reprimands, but then on your third, you got a grid penalty. Again, you didn't get a time on your actual result. I'm not familiar. The only way you get time on your result is for conduct in that very race, to my knowledge. I'm pretty sure you only get grid drops if it's something you've done in a previous race. So, like, for example, Kamui Kobayashi, in the first race in Australia, when initially he thought he was responsible for crashing out Felipe Massa, everyone was expecting it to be points on his licence and the grid drop for, causing an avoidable accident. That's what the predictions were. It wasn't going to be, you've really screwed this guy's result, so we're screwing your next result. I'm pretty sure it's on the grid only where you get the penalties. And the ones for the results are based off conduct in that race. I mean, for us out there, I mean, when I've watched Formula 1, I'm not familiar with anyone getting a thing saying, in your next race you're going to get a 10-second penalty. I've never seen that before, to my knowledge. So maybe we should think about doing that for the next race, rather than saying to him, you get a 20-second penalty, you drive over the pit line, you guarantee the 10-place grid drop, and you start at the back of the field.
Yeah, it'll keep it alive, won't it? It'll make it very interesting.
Because that way he serves his penalty, but at the same time, it's not a case. That way he has to fight off the start. Yeah, he won't like starting from the back of the field, but I mean, for all you drivers out there, the likes of Sean Bean who's watching, the likes of Jigsaws, the likes of yourself, if you're a driver, would you rather face a 20-second toss-up at the end, or would you rather face starting at the back? Paragon the 165 meanwhile says, what was Kobayashi's penalty? He didn't get a penalty. Everyone expected him to get one because he said at first he was responsible, but then it turned out to be a brake failure, so he was absolved. But the predictions from the commentators was that it was likely going to be a grid drop and points. On the stream, Motorsport Nerd believes the official FIA ruling for Andy's scenario is that the penalty doesn't carry over. That's Motorsport Nerd's takeover. And he's also put hashtag I am Ted Gravitz. Sean Bean, meanwhile, says start at the back. I think that's fair, actually. I think starting at the back would be the fairest way to do it. Yes, it means that he gets punished for, the transgressions throughout the season, but it also means that, if he gets a lightning start and finds himself in P5 or 6, the race is alive until the very end.
Definitely. We don't want it to be where, like, Andy wins the race and, he's got a 20-second carry over his head. We want it
and ends up losing by a second.
Yeah, we don't want it like that. We want it to be as close and as fair as possible. So,
on the stream, I've had a message from the British First, also formerly known as Hilt95, saying he believes he should start at the back as well. On the stream, Isle of Jigsaw says, I'd rather start at the back. Look at what Vettel did in Abu Dhabi from the pit lane. Exactly, 2012. Great example there. Rice Paddy Gaming also chips in saying start at the back, as does Motorsport Nerd. So on my stream, it would certainly seem unanimously in favour of starting at the back. And again, to make it possible, all he's got to do is do what we do, drive over the pit lane line.
Indigo's closing up to his teammate for P4. McLaren's having a reasonable race today. I mean, obviously Andy's not about, and he was in front, but yeah.
Sean B22 meanwhile chipping in says he reckons TRL button being the host is causing the issues. We have this problem all the time. Well, it's really hard to identify the best host.
Andy's connection obviously doesn't like the host. That's what it is.
Yeah, that was obviously an issue. But again, we've had this problem before. Like, trying to identify a host to resolve the problems is something we've really had difficulty with at XRL, and it's something that we find difficult to get around. Meanwhile, message from JK10 saying, what do we think of the new competitiveness from the new drivers coming in? Well, Dan, I'll let you answer that question because you're the one who's seen all the new social races and that. What do you make of the competitiveness?
I think, JK is obviously a new guy as well. It is competitive, it is good, it's exactly the sort of divisions that we're looking to get in. The only thing we're missing is a couple of drivers for this division to make it that little bit more competitive. If we can get that, then we're on to a fantastic next season. I mean, we've got plenty of talent, GP2, GP3, F4, the new division, or even getting people from the bottom divisions. It's fantastic. The only issue is, finding the elite who can race in these sort of F1 division races is extremely difficult. And we'd love to get another TRL Butler, a nice cold Andy in there just to make it harder for some of these guys and make it even more competitive for some of the guys at the top. If we could do that, even find one, I mean that would be a positive and a bonus for next season.
Definitely. Meantime, Paragon 125 has come up with an interesting statement there, saying, look at Andy in Japan. He can come through the field, but that was his favourite track. Brazil will be a different story because every driver will be very fast in Brazil. Again, that's why it will be exciting. Because think about it. Say if Andy starts from P11 for the sake of argument, having qualified at the back due to the penalty, right? Starts there. He might decide it's not even worth qualifying because he's got the penalty. He's got the tyres. So think on this. He then finds himself in say P8 after a decent start, but all the fields were really competitive. We could be looking at a magnificent scrap where anyone could come out on top. Like the classic races from the 5-second lag from NMR Mr. Indigo.
Yeah,
has really hurt him there. He's just gone back through the field.
That's giving LGS a bit of a let off.
For now. But yes, I mean, as I say, I'm pretty certain to my knowledge though, that there is no post-race impact to a result unless it's conduct caused in the race itself. I'm pretty certain that's the official line from the FIA. Paragon 125 reckons that Interlagos always throws a spanner in the works. As it's just one of those tracks. I think a lot of people enjoy racing it because it is a very pleasant track to drive. As well as that, it's a track that rewards high-speed, aggressive driving due to the nature of the corners, the nature of the elevation changes. And crucially, it's a classic circuit. We see so many classic races in Brazil, like 2012's wet race, for instance. That was a superb race. 2003 with the chaos that happened there, that was brilliant. We've seen so many fantastic drivers there. It's unbelievable.
I'm just trying to make sure I get the count right.
And also, Motorsport now making a prediction saying, tell you what, any driver going into Brazil leading the championship must have nightmares during the week running up to it. Be very true, because when I was racing an F5000, Sean Bean was ahead of me. I ended up winning the race, but he only just clung onto his title. So we definitely had followed that from XRL in the past. Sean Bean won't like me bringing that memory up for him. Well, XRL Fozzie started to catch up to the back of NMR Mr. Indigo. That lag has really hurt the McLaren driver now, and Fozzie done pretty solid, drove a decent race here. Not been brilliant, but again, he's hanging on, and he's done enough to get the pace to get solid points. And we've said it many times before, you have to finish and get over the line to score the points at the end of the day. Ice Cold Andy's a great example. He's missed out so many times. And the crucial thing is, earlier in the season, was it Singapore, where he retired halfway through the race and could have ended up finishing 7th?
I was just having a look at the order from the guys racing. Got Bobbitt's dead last, Indigo 6th, Fozzie's in 7th, with LGS having a decent race in 4th.
Fozzie's in 5th now because one of the cars has just gone into the pit.
Indigo.
That was actually NMR Mr. Indigo, yeah.
So Jambo's got into P3 and on the podium, and he's going to close that gap up to the front guys as well. He's now going to be on, I believe, 202, which he can't win the title with that. He needs to finish 2nd to go down to the wire.
Paragon 125 is asking, what's the story about Andy's driving through turn 19? I assume it's 19, I call it 18 for some reason. In the race, a lot of drivers unhappy with Andy cutting it consistently, saying he should get a penalty. and something about an illegal overtake. The problem, I've been calling this all race, Paragon. I mean, obviously you were racing, so you didn't hear this, due to the fact you can't have the stream open while you're racing, due to our race rules. But what it was, I've seen a lot of this. I've seen an absolute ton of drivers all going off there all the time. And again, we said it before, on the last game, I mean, I know a lot of people were annoyed about it, but it called it as a corner cut. To be honest, I want that bringing back, because they'd have given penalties by now. I mean, yeah, it's not corner cutting, but it is.
I'm on board with Jambo. He hasn't got to pit. He's on the option tyres. He's got TRL button about 8 seconds down the road on the prime. So 10 laps to go. He might be able to get that one.
Meantime, on the stream, Rice Paddy Gaming is saying that actually it was China where Ice Cold Andy had that race where he retired early, and if it had hung on, he got maybe 7th place. I mean, that would have made a big difference. That's an extra 4 or 5 points there as well. So if you think about it, if there's a 5-point gap going into Lagos, if it had hung on in China for a little more, he might suddenly be looking at like a 9 or 10-point gap. That can be the difference between first and third, and on countback he'd win it by wins. So you can also say in many ways that, yeah, he's been unlucky with disconnection, but also the lack of patience sometimes from the likes of Ice Cold Andy, and also the previous defending champion F1 Nige, has what's been the architect of the downfall as well. I mean, how many times have we seen the drivers like Sean Bean, the drivers like XRL Fozzie, who know they've not been on the ultimate pace, just hanging on there and getting these consistent points? And again, one of the drivers from Blast from the Past for quite a few people here, Craig 102 in F5000. He was one of the slowest drivers in history. And yet, I remember him getting a podium at Monaco, because while everyone else got annoyed at breaking the nose cones and retiring, he hung out there and came third. He was about 3 laps behind the winner, but that's not the point. He was still there. It just shows sometimes you need to hang on.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. That gap's really coming down between the top 2, by the way.
Let's get in front now. Let's get on board with that, because we are a bit far behind here. So we've got Jambo in P3, and yep, there we go. So TRL Button, turn 2, just coming out of sector 2 now. And you're looking at Hamilton, he's only just gone through the hairpin at the start of the DRS zone. So it is coming down. This could be interesting. Meanwhile, Paragraph 125 says that the FIA said some turns are special case scenarios in terms of track limits. My opinion on turn 19 is cut on the inside, you get for getting advantage. A slight 4 wheels on is extending and def on advantage. Running wide and exited by a medium slight margin is not an advantage. But why? I mean, you're able to carry more speed. Surely if you're able to go wider, you can look at the end of Ascari at Monza. How many drivers deliberately go miles wide to carry more pace there? Look at that turn 6 at India. You know, the fact of the matter is, you're gaining an advantage. And, you know, look at Roman Grosjean this season in Hungaroring. When he passed Felipe Massa and was literally millimetres over at turn 4, Stewart still said illegal overtake penalty, even though Massa was defending him, saying that it was a fair pass. The fact of the matter, TRL Button's in the pits.
Right, so, yeah, that makes sense in Button. I don't think his tyres are going to get to the end, but, that is,
Well, Jambo's now going to go past him,
and there's going to be
just
6
laps, 8 laps. What's right on the ball with Button here as he leaves the pits? Yeah, I mean, I do think, you know, ultimately, I do understand that I can sympathise with drivers say you lose time, but it's like Eddie Jordan and Andy Davidson said, but if you're losing time, why are you always doing it? Because I don't know any driver that would deliberately take a slower line.
That gap's not... That gap that between TRL, but I think he'll get Jambo. I do think
Paragon
he'll get
125
Jambo,
points
like,
out that if you go... Sorry, Paragon 125 points if you go really wide, there's auto-braking. But we've seen how different that can be at certain tracks. I mean, good example here. At Montreal, if you make the mistake of cutting into the inside of the final chicane by a few millimetres, not only do you auto-brake, you spin. Whereas if you go to places like India, where at turn 10, the horseshoe, you could go miles outside the track and not get auto-braked. The fact is, the rules for that and the application of it is not consistent enough. So we have to be 100% consistent, in my opinion. And if it is a penalty on some tracks, it's a penalty on all. Because ultimately, you're going wide, you're breaking the track limits. The white lines are there for a reason. It's like, how many times would you be able to argue with the police that you were driving in you were allowed to drive in bus lanes because it's slightly a long way round? You wouldn't.
Good example there. To real life, I like that. Oh, Lewis Hamilton pits as well.
Oh, well, that's interesting because Button's just gone through the final corner. Where's Hamilton going to come out in relation to these guys? So Jambo now in the lead. Well, this will be a spanner in the works if he can hang on. And T.R. Button's only about 5 seconds adrift now. Well, this has suddenly become active out of nowhere. So let's ride on board with Hamilton. He's got the fresh rubber. He can go all out attack. And if he's saved any fuel, he'll be able to burn those tires. Oh, but you've got a very poor run there.
Let's
picked up loads of marbles on the tyres.
I'm going to quickly look at Jambo's race director to see when he pit and how fresh those tyres are, because
that can't be good, surely.
He pit on 43.
That's
no,
6 laps ago.
Or was that his in lap? Yeah, it's 43, so 13 laps. You know, they're a decent wear rate at the moment. He's not going to be doing slow lap times at this moment in time. He will struggle towards the end of the stint compared to these guys. But
the question is, how much pace has TRL Button got on the fresh tyres related to his teammate? Because if Jambo holds him up, you know, with like good gearbox and decent defensive driving, that puts some real pressure on Hamilton. And Hamilton, if he doesn't win today, well, that's going to make the job that much harder in Sao Paulo. Not going to make it impossible.
I don't know if Andy's watching the stream, but I've sent him a message about his penalty because I think it is only fair. And then as well, if this changes things, this will change things as well.
Well, Paragon number 125. I'm going to have to paraphrase your essay there because you put a brilliant point, but I'm going to have to paraphrase it. He says that if you extend the ball by 2 to 5 feet, you ultimately gain an advantage. Anything more, you lose in time. Well, that's debatable because, again, we've seen that at different tracks. However, one of the things he said, this wouldn't be happening if the overly safety-conscious FIA didn't make all these massive runoff areas.
Yeah,
well,
that's right.
I've petitioned for gravel traps many times, but I've also said if they have to have runoffs, do it like at the Paul Ricard circuit in France. Make it so it damages the tyres. I'm not saying to the point where it punches them and causes accidents, but make it so that they suffer wear. Like, say, for instance, if the tyre deck on a lap is 3%, right, for example, if you run off, it goes to 5%. Would you want to do that more than a few times over the course of a race? I wouldn't.
Yeah. Right behind you on that one. I would prefer to see gravel every day of the week. I hate it when you get these runoff areas and then in the distance...
But look at that there at the end of the hairpin. Did you see how big that was? You could pack half of the RVs that are parked up at the side of the truck in that space. But big American motorhomes. Even here, I mean, you've got a gravel trap there, but look how much wider from the astroturf it is. I mean, what's wrong with grass and then maybe a fraction bit of concrete miles off the circuit, so if you use it, you're breaking the rules, and then a gravel. So you can sufficiently slow the car on the concrete, but then if you do go off the track, you're not getting back. Oh, but Jambo's under real pressure here. Hamilton's going to have him, surely. Right under the gearbox here. DRS flap over. Jambo's defending. Oh! I think he almost pushed it. Pushed it into the wall there. Hamilton retaliates to the outside. Has Jambo been able to hold the inside line? No, but Hamilton's gone off the track. He's gone off 4 tyres over the white line. He's going to have to let him back through, or that'll be a potentially illegal overtake. Because he completed the move off the track. And we saw with Roman Grosjean at the Hungaroring that you can't do that.
I need to see that again. It was extremely close.
Well, that's why it's to be reviewed rather than decided straight away. But it looked like he was off the track on my perspective.
Yeah, it looked quite close. And if we're being like quite petty on that sort of thing, it is like TRL Button's move that he did on Lewis Hamilton last week. So if it's like that, you've got to be rather consistent with these sort of things. And
yeah. Meantime, Paragon 125, he's just echoing our conversation, says, why not just put about grass or gravel on the other side of the white line? Bet drivers wouldn't extend or cut. Again, you're preaching to the choir here, Paragon. The problem is that we then have the issue where, you know, looking back to 1999 with Michael Schumacher's accident at Silverstone, when he went straight on because he couldn't turn the car due to the gravel. But again, for me, you know, if you look at tracks like Suzuka, look at Degner, that's got gravel. Look at the pit lane entrance at China, that's got gravel. So again, there's lots of these places Well, Jigsaw was just talking about the gravel there, actually, China, as I mentioned that. Yeah, it's like, if drivers are able to run off, they will run off, because they want to ultimately gain fastest time. And at the end of the day, it's like, if you put the gravel there instead, they're going to not run off, because you don't want the junk on your tyres, and you don't want to risk getting your car beached. And also, I think, going back to when we were talking about Schumacher, when Schumacher had his accident, he literally went into the tyre wall, didn't he?
Yeah.
There's one thing now that's changed that. It's called the Tepco barrier. Simply make it so that all circuits have to have Tepco barriers at every corner and put gravel back. Because if they can't stop the car, the Tepco barrier will. We saw that with Nico Rosberg and the Rain Cartha Cayenne in 2012 at Abu Dhabi. That's the way to solve it. Scrap tyre barriers, bring in Tepco barriers. Easy.
I don't even understand, because surely having runoffs is more cost adverse. Surely more cost.
It costs more, but the thing is, like, drivers have it because they say that they can spin the car around. Well, of course they can spin the car around because they're on concrete. They were saying that it'd be easier to slow the car down because they could jam on the brakes like an emergency stop. Again, I totally sympathise with that. And in the end of the 1990s, when cars still had quite a lot of downforce, when cars still had quite a lot of pace, they were still able to go across like a bullet. But now, as I say, even though they've got the speed, and they've got, the split tyres and that, the fact is, the Tepco barriers have proven they can stop cars at full pelts. They've actually proven it. Like Mark Webber's flip, look at that. He went into the back of the Kovalainen, literally went upside down into a Tepco barrier. All he did was throw a steering wheel out and climb straight out. But the G-force impact had to be something like 80. He still got out of it.
I had Tyson on my Xbox chat. He's watching it on the Xbox app, I believe, or his tablet, I think. And he's just commented saying he thinks Lewis Hamilton's pass was fine. So,
well, again, this is why we review it after the race. It's always been reviewed with as much input from the drivers and the footage, because this is why on-the-spot penalties don't work. Paragon, 125 Rice Paddy Gay and me while stroking my ego saying there should be FIA president. The drivers would hate me if I was the president. I can assure you of that. I'd be vilified immediately. The fans would like it, but the drivers would hate it.
Right, so we've got TRL button now. DRS activated. Can he now make a move on Jambo? It's running out of time down the straight. He's going to go last ditch. And
oh, that was marginal there. Not only because of the inside of the hairpin, but you could also argue he may have pushed Jambo off the track there. But again, it's about where Jambo placed his car. That's a very marginal move, that. Really pushing the rules to the absolute limit.
Yeah, I think that was fine. He had the place done, so he was entitled to push him off the track. Or not push him off the track, but he had track position.
Sean Bean, meanwhile, asking on the stream, if the penalty applies for Hamilton for not letting Jambo back through, will TRL Button gain if he passes Jambo? Well, he's already passed Jambo, so the answer there is yes, because he's not actually that far behind Hamilton. In fact, looking at the track guide, Hamilton's only just hit turn 1. I don't think that gap's very big at all. But once again, going over the inside there.
3 seconds, would you say?
It's not much, is it? Maybe 4 at the absolute maximum. Can he go 2 seconds a lap faster than Hamilton? I doubt it, because Hamilton's tyres are fresher. But I don't know. Under light fuel, all-out attack. TRL Button showed in qualifying he had a lot of pace by getting that prime tyre right at the front. So I don't know. He might just have enough here. Well, this would be a real change to the order, wouldn't it?
They're both on the same compound. Lewis Hamilton's actually on the newer set of tyres, so I mean TRL Button's going to find it hard to find all that time. He's got 2 more laps after this one. I think he'll get on DRS on 56, but that'll be just in DRS. He's not going to make.
Well, Paragon 125's made an interesting comment here, saying, I know this is off topic, but could we comment on the tragic death of Ronnie Peterson, plus our thoughts on Hunton Petraeus' involvement as well as the celebrity putting the green lights on too early and the dangers of Monza? Well, I think Monza's been heavily sanitised since. I mean, I remember when going into the first hairpin, there used to be big tyres on the inside. Now there's nothing, so no one can get the car written off. I mean, one of the dangers of trying to get too close to the glitz and glamour is that mistakes can be fatally made, or they can really change the order. Anyone who remembers when Pele was given the job of flying the checkered flag at Interlagos, and he did it after Schumacher won the race, so Schumacher thought he'd carry on and nearly damaged his car as a result and didn't have enough fuel to make it, shows you just how easy it is for these things to happen. But any death that happens in motorsport is obviously very tragic, and it shows how much the yards have changed. You only have to look at Gilles Villeneuve's horrific death when he at Zolder, when he literally came out of the car, to show just how much things have changed. And again, it also shows that while it's good to think about safety, in the modern environment, I think we're perhaps too safe.
Yeah. I pretty much agree with what you said. So actually, pretty much said it bang on.
But Sarah Buttons closed a little to Hamilton, but I really don't think he's going to have enough time to claw that gap down. Unless Hamilton makes a mistake, and we saw earlier on in the race with Paragon, he was carrying an injury, to be fair, that made it happen, but who knows, he may crack under the pressure. I doubt it, because again, I'd say the gap maybe come down by about half a second, possibly. I wouldn't say it's much. I mean, he's done a 35.8 TR Bun, really showing he's got pace in that car, but Hamilton's done a 36.0, so it's only 0.2 difference in ultimate pace, and Hamilton's got a lot more than 0.2 in hand here. Well, Hamilton's done everything he needs to, though, to be able to keep it
setting pretty good lap times.
Indeed, I mean, obviously we've got the final, we've got the pass on Jambo, which needs to be looked into. But again, if that's all green lighted, Hamilton's done everything he needs to be able to really keep this title alive with a 5-point margin. Even if he gets a penalty, he's likely to only end up behind TRL Button. I don't think Jambo's close enough to take him off the podium. So if that's the case, even then, it's a gap of 11. That's still winnable.
Yeah, for sure.
On the stream, on the Xbox Live, JK Tennis just asked a neat simple question here. What's easier to use, a pad or a wheel? Well, I think a lot of that depends on your wheel, really, because some wheels are better than others. I mean, if you've got the likes of a Fanatec, for instance, they can be absolutely fabulous when it comes to getting feedback and sensitivity, whereas some of the other ones are a bit too mediocre and more cluttering. Also, the pad and the wheel have been closed a bit on the modern games. I think 2012 was the first one where they really made them not quite equal, but certainly a lot more equal. Though with a pad, I'm sure with a wheel, you'll always gain more time once you're used to it, because you can actually have full control over exactly where you put the directional change of your car. Whereas with a pad, you're very much dictated by how much linearity you got in the analog stick.
Sure, but let's watch Lewis Hamilton then. He goes round the last couple of corners. We'll go around this last corner in the Red Bull to complete a 1-2 for the team. And Lewis Hamilton ensures that it's going to go down right to the wire. As he, oh, nice one. You never see that from... you see that as kind of Vettel-esque, but he hasn't won the championship yet, that's for sure.
Yeah. Also, Sean Beans pointed out that some wheels like to reset settings, as he found out tonight, so anything's easier. On the streaming one, Paragon said 76 F1 was sort of safer than 71, but much less safe than modern F1. Where's the happy medium? But to be honest, I think we could all easily reach the happy medium. I mean, if they have to have runoff areas, do what Paul Ricard do and make it so they damage the tyres so they don't reward abusing the limits, but allow you to get back to the track. If you can, you make it so everyone's got TEPCO barriers, bring back the gravel traps. And we also, I mean, looking at the accident that Mark Webber had in Valencia, it's probably the best example here. He literally rear-ended Kovalainen at something like 180 miles an hour, flipped end over end, hit the roof, landed on his wheels, and the only thing that he did was slightly break the front nose and climb straight out of the car. I'm sorry, but what more happy medium do we need?
Right, so we're just waiting for Bobbitts to go over the line, and that's it. So, yeah, Lewis Hamilton winning it by just under 5 seconds. TRL Bun did a great job.
Jambo's actually finished only 11 seconds off the lead. So if Hamilton does get a penalty, it would mean he'd be in third. Going to be close, this. Let's get everybody in the party so we can get their opinions on the actual race here.
It's probably a record for F1 in terms of finishing, people. for a little while.
We did well to get all those people in. We're just waiting for Hamilton and Jambo
Sean and Paragon would have been different there if he didn't have injuries or wheel braking. So, I mean...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was the big problem. I mean, Andy was unfortunate with his connection. Still waiting for Hamilton and Jambo. In the meantime, we'll go to you, TRL Button. You seem to have a lot of pace in qualifying, but in the race, you seem to have problems with lag that put you right on the back foot at the start. Is that pretty much what happened?
Yeah. It's got a 5-second lag spike that put me all the way back, which I was pretty pissed off about.
Worst time as well to have it.
Yeah, worst time, brought me right out the back, so I had to fight my way through the traffic and everything just to get. And I was actually happy finishing under 5 seconds behind Hamilton. I mean, that was the greatest drive, I think, in 100% race I've had.
Well, it's obviously set you up with good form heading into Sao Paulo. Do you reckon you'll have more of a chance of riding you don't get any laggy internet issues?
Well, it's down to the game really, the 5-second lag spike. If it wouldn't really bother me if I did get one next race, because I'm not really fighting for anything at the moment. Well, maybe next season I will, but until then I'll have to wait, won't we?
Excellent, thank you. Well, Hamilton, we'll go to you. We're just waiting for you to join the podium here. A race where once your teammate kind of lagged out, you lagged behind, you seem to pretty much control the pace. You had quite a lot of pace underlying in the car, and some hairy moments overall, but still quite a decent victory from where we were saw. How were your thoughts on the track?
Yeah, a really surprising victory. Obviously, it's really nice to have a victory on Austin as well, beating my teammate to it, and get a Red Bull 1-2.
One thing I've got to ask you is, with this race victory and with Ice Cold Andy's disconnection, that now means, no matter what happens regards to any stewards' inquiries or anything, the maximum you're going to be behind him when it comes to the race in Sao Paulo is going to be 15 points. Do you think you can steal the championship in Brazil next week?
I'll do the best.
Keeping your cards very close to you. If you give me your cards close to your chest, why not? Well, great win. Thank you very much for your comments. Jambo, we'll go to you. I mean, in qualifying you seem to be slightly behind the top three, but then come race when you were on the primes, you seem to have quite a lot of pace under the car. Were you always one that expected better pace in the race day?
Well, my pace is faster than what the qualifying shows. I lost about half a second. I was up my lap, but I cut a corner right at the end, so I would have been in the top 3. But I knew, I raced with Hamilton in practice, and I knew he was faster. And TRL Button is TRL Button, so he's going to
I mean, obviously, I mean, you saw your teammate disconnected halfway through. Did you think when that happened it was a good chance for you to sneak you onto the podium?
I was trying to keep behind him because I knew he was like trying to get the title, so I stuck behind him and let him pass when he got near. But if I hadn't done that, I'd probably have been a lot closer, because I pitted a lap later because I was trying to hold up Hamilton. But I lost like 4 or 5 seconds because the tyres went on.
Well, obviously, it all goes to the wire in Sao Paulo then. Will you be doing the maximum you can to help your teammate try and claim the title?
Yeah, if he's like near me, then I'll probably like try and hold him up. But I'm not fast on Sao Paulo, so I don't expect to be near him. If so, it'll be a lap down.
Oh, well, say either way, best of luck next week in Sao Paulo then. So, great congratulations to all the drivers here tonight, and also thank you for all you people watching the coverage. Brought to you tonight exclusively by GT Omega Racing and GamePod.co.uk. Tomorrow night, you've got myself and Chris Moss. We'll be bringing you coverage of the GP2 division, likes of Sean Bean, likes of XRL Bernie. They'll all be racing there tomorrow night. Then we've also got GP3 coming up later in the week on the Tuesday. On the Wednesday evening, we've got the F4 race, I believe, which is being streamed. Is that correct, Dan?
That's correct.
Yeah, and on Thursday we're having the first race of our Forza 4 DTM League. As I say, so if you are interested, there are still spaces if you want to sign up to that. Otherwise, it's something it's a different experience for you all to check out. And then, of course, next Sunday evening, we're here for the season climax. It goes to the wire at Sao Paulo, Brazil, and I'm sure it'll be a classic. Well, thank you all very much for watching, and good night.